Hello, Chrissy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing super good. Well, for the audience listening in, I met Chrissy in November of 2022 when she joined the Become Emboldened program and just was such a fire coming alive to her deeper dreams and is now in our Empowered AF coach certification program as well. And I just get so excited working with such intuitive, badass women who just want more for their lives as they're putting away alcohol. So Chrissy, tell us a little bit more about who you are today. What do you do for work? What are you interested in? And then we'll go back into the story of how you kind of made a change and what kind of came alive for you as you went.
So I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a social worker. So I'm a social worker by day, and I'm recently an author. And so that's really exciting. And I just, it's crazy what almost 2 years from when I started, my relationship with alcohol to now, just how drastically different it is. And it's just so exciting.
Oh, I love that. And, I've gotten the chance to witness you becoming an author and a coach now too, to just really broaden all the things that you want to do in the world and just this fire within you that I love to see. And I'm so curious, oftentimes we have this like stereotype of alcohol really holding people back in this really negative way of like, barely being able to survive and having just all the problems in their lives. And I find with the gray area drinkers, like our lives actually look just fine. You know what I mean? Like everything's just dandy. You have your professional life, your family, everything's happening. But in your experience, in your terms, how was alcohol, even though everything looked probably fine on the surface, how is alcohol causing you to play smaller than like the full potential that you have?
Oh, there's so many reasons. So I think the biggest reason for me is that I didn't dream big enough. And what I mean by that is I didn't know that I could write a book. I didn't know I could help other women and coach. I had no idea. So when I first started to go alcohol free, I had no clue that any of this would happen, honestly. And I think when you first dive into trying to change your relationship with alcohol, I always tell people to be so open because you never know what's going to come along. And there's so many seasons to going alcohol free. And for me, I felt like they came in stages. So, initially, I didn't know I wanted to write a book. I was trying to think about, my bigger purpose. And I think that's one of the reasons why, the cycle of drinking, when you're a binge drinker or you're a gray area drinker, how it can keep you trapped and not playing small. Because if you think about it, every weekend, if you're a drinker, I'd wake up on Sunday and Monday and feel awful. And then I'm trying to play catch up. And there's really no time to dream big. And when you dream big and then you get hungover and you don't feel well, it's just this like vicious cycle. So, and I honestly have to say, with the help of you, I didn't know that I could think about purpose and think about things in a different way. And not that, and I've said this before, it wasn't that I was miserable, but I think I'm a very intuitive person. And I think I've always thought about not drinking. And I've always thought about all these cool things like helping, other people. I just didn't know how to do it. And so I felt like once I started to start dreaming bigger and working with you and other really amazing women, it gave me a chance to see, wait, so there's other things that could be possible. And so it's been really, really cool to watch. And I also feel like when we look at our relationship with alcohol, when I talk about different seasons, sometimes, when we think of purpose, it can feel like so overwhelming and kind of play big. And what does that look like? And my best advice and the advice I'm trying to follow is to live each day by day and not try to predict the future, because with going alcohol free, there's so many things that have come out of it that I would never have predicted.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much I want to dig into, but you mentioned that you changed your relationship with alcohol in stages and that like there was different beliefs that you had at each stage or more intuitive hits that you're getting. So can you walk us a little through that journey? Like what were the first few stages and then kind of where did you end up?
Yeah. So eh, for a lot of my 30s, that's when I started really questioning my relationship with alcohol, when I started having, blacking out and having actual consequences that I just wondered, like, I want to stop drinking. And I would think about it, but I never did anything about it. I tried to moderate a lot. And then I've had times where I did slow down in the winter months when I didn't drink as much, but I don't think I had the tools to even know how to stop at that time. And because it was so normalized and because I did what all my friends did, I sometimes just figured it was my problem, my fault. So I want to really highlight that because, there's just so many emotional pieces. And when we really start our relationship with anything and changing in that relationship, it's not going to necessarily always be perfect. So once I decided to stop drinking, it was just, not to sound cliche, but the sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, in January of 2022, actually on my birthday, and I had to finish my birthday weekend with a bang because I had to drink. So I was like, after, I decided to change my relationship with alcohol. I didn't know what that was going to look like. The whole time, deep down, I knew I wanted to quit forever, but I wasn't in a stage where I could even fathom what that would look like. So on my birthday, my 39th birthday, I jumped in, got an Audible book, started really educating myself on alcohol. And I did have some slip ups along the way. I had a lot of anxiety. And I remember month 2 trying to predict a vacation, like seriously, like 6 months away. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know people literally wonder, and I think it's so normal to wonder how things are going to look once you stop drinking because you've been drinking for so long. It just seems impossible to think about not drinking. So I did drink a few times, but I really, really slowed down. And then I did go on that vacation and I only drank 2 drinks, which was big, but I really wasn't, I enjoyed myself, but then I didn't because I think that moderation dangle piece, that was there that okay, had 2, okay, but you still get that buzz and then it goes away and you still get all those feelings. So that was really, that was a little bit hard for me. But then I remember drinking a couple more times. The last time I drank was in November of 2022. And I realized that I people pleased. I realized that I was trying to do things which I thought, like my husband and I went out and I thought he wanted me to drink, which he didn't. He didn't at all. That was in my own head.
Yeah.
I also was very stressed out that day from work. So I think it was just accumulation of everything. But that last time, and I felt awful. I got really emotional. I woke up at like 2, 3, I don't even know it. Just, I never got sick, but I just felt the one of the reasons why I wanted to quit is because I hated waking up at 3 with anxiety. I hated that feeling of what did I do? Or, oh my gosh, I can't go back to sleep. I'm going to be exhausted and not get anything done all day long. And so that was just kind of the big event that I'm like, I'm done. I'm done drinking. I can't do this anymore. But it was all the times I drank that I learned that I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so walk us further. So like you have obviously, I think it's a very typical journey of like sober curiosity and like really leaning into your intuition and kind of dipping your toe in and going a little back and forth. But, now you're alcohol free. And so what starts happening as you kind of clear that cacophony from your life? What do you start hearing instead?
Yeah. So I've shared this with a few people, but when I gave up, I said, okay, I'm done drinking. I got really upset with myself. And then I'm like, you know what? I can't get mad at myself. I had to do this to get to this place. So in November, I was taking a walk and I heard myself say, and this is where I started really learning about intuition. I heard myself say, doors will open if you quit drinking alcohol. And it was like this calm voice. And it was just like, I'm like, huh. And I'm like, okay. And honestly, I'm going to tell you this, it's helped me remind me why I am doing what I'm doing. Because when I'm stressed out or on the days where, I don't really want to drink now, but in the beginning, when I'm like wanted to throw in the towel, because there were some times where it's just easier to drink. And it's not that it's necessarily easier, it's my comfort zone, right? Like, it's just easier to maybe conform, or it's easier to do what everybody else is doing, but that doesn't mean it's going to make me happy. And so that was a huge part of this as well, is that um, I get overwhelmed a lot with things in general. So it's just this journey to try to get to know yourself. So, I celebrated my 40th birthday sober. Which was exciting. I had all my friends and people were drinking. I definitely did not drink. And then I joined your program, and I never really thought about the concept of purpose. And I was like, that's such an interesting, component to this. What am I supposed to be doing? So I was taking a walk and I was thinking about purpose, and I just had the thought to write a book and to write a children's book. And I was at my kitchen counter and thought of the idea. And I do feel like we meet people in our lives for a reason. And I think that with going alcohol free, with meeting you, has really helped me figure out there's more to life than what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. Well, Chrissy, I just got goosebumps as you're like talking about those messages and that beautiful intuition opening up for you. And I think it's so incredible because I can just see like my story is like so similar, like I heard very similar messages about how much more I was made for than alcohol. And basically, like once I was experimenting with being alcohol free, like the first few months, it was just so clear in my mind that like everything you want, right? This beautiful, beautiful life over here is because you decided to ditch alcohol. And I'm not just talking about like general things. Like, I mean, like the biggest dreams that none of us would have ever thought were possible, we're all on that other side. And I think just as you said, like that was this, like the linchpin to just be like, why would I ever question the decision? Like, why would I ever want to go back to playing small? And I think that sometimes too, when alcohol comes up for people, like, yeah, you're right. It's like a comfort zone or a reflex or something like that. But sometimes I think too, it's like this deeper, like, ooh, this playing big thing is a little too scary. Let's go back into that safe and familiar, playing small. So I love the story about how you decided to write a children's book. So you're a mother and a social worker, and you've, have so much wisdom to share. And you're also, the listener should know, very into manifestation, which we can touch upon as well. But so many people want to write a book in general, right? And it's a desire that a lot of Americans at least have by statistics. I think it's like 82 or 83%. I always wanted to write a book too. And, something that really stopped me was that I wasn't able to write. Like I felt no creativity and I felt no discipline to actually sit down and do it when I was still drinking. So when I stopped drinking, obviously like the floodgates came out, the ideas came out, and here you have this beautiful idea. So how did you kind of take this desire to write a book and put it into fruition? Like, what did that look like? And tell us a little bit about the book too.
Yeah. So I love what you said about, not drinking giving you creativity. For me, I've always loved books, huge book reader. Growing up, I would just be buried in books, but I never really thought about writing. And if I did, I don't remember 100%. So I think that even if you're like, why would I think about writing a book? I'm not an English major. I just say run with it. If you have a thought, don't dismiss it. And that's what I didn't do. I didn't dismiss it. So I was like, interesting, I'm going to write a kid's book. So the book that I wrote is Miranda Learns the Art of Not Fitting In. And it's very funny because now I look back at the book and I'm like, with alcohol and, it's so easy to fit in. It's to conform versus, doing what you truly want to do. And this is about a little girl who starts off at school. She's at a new school. She's in second grade. She wants to make friends. And like most of us, we want connection, and especially kids, they want to fit in, they want to make friends. And when she tries to make friends with people that aren't they're not people she'd be friends with, and doing activities she really didn't enjoy, she was stressed out. She's frazzled. She couldn't make friends. And when she really just started to just trust what she wants to do, what makes her happy and what makes her heart sing, she joined choir and was able to make a lot of friends. And
Well, it's so sweet. I bought it and immediately read it and gave it also to my niece who's like that age group exactly. So I hope that she gets the lessons from it too. But I love the idea of just like we're like choosing what we want to fit into instead of feeling isolated by like not belonging sometimes for other things. And it's such a good metaphor for like alcohol, but also other things, like being more growth rate oriented and such and everything like that. And did you like find the process? I think it's also complicated about it is just not knowing what to do, before
Mhm.
anything we've never done before, we just don't know what to do. So I'm curious, like, how did you figure out the how? Because the how is oftentimes what keeps people so stuck. It's like, well, if I don't know how to do A through Z, I won't even start step A. So how did you go about like the process of like all the steps? Because like you got the cover art, you got it published. It's like on like
Yeah.
it's a book out there, you know what I mean? And you did it really quickly too.
Yeah. So what I did, because and this is funny because everyone always tells me, I thought about writing a book, but I can't write. And I say, what you do? You go online. There's this thing called online, and it's amazing. There's so many resources now. And so what I did is I was driving and I had the thought, well, I wasn't driving, my husband was driving, but I had the thought, okay, how do I write a kid's book? Because I don't have experience. And I know that there's different books, different like lengths of the book for picture books. So I found this resource, and it was $100 and something course, and it walked you through how to write a kid's book and how to do a query letter. And for the listeners, if you want to try a traditional publishing route, I went the self-publishing route. But there's so many resources for everything. And so if we don't know how to do something, you can learn about it. So I went through the course and learned how many words, and then just also learned a little bit about, not using a ton of words for kids' books. For example, less is more. And it was just so helpful. And then I went on Fiverr. So Fiverr is a website it's a site for many different things, but I was trying to find a site where I can get it edited. And, there's different prices, there's different resources. So it really just depends on your budget. And then the artist, I went on Fiverr and talked to the artist. And so, yeah, it's just all these things. And then, self-publishing, I didn't know how to self-publish on Amazon. So I had to learn how to do that. And so there's just so many levels of different ways I did everything. But the first thing is I just had to write it. So I don't know, I forget who said this, but they said, just write your first crappy first draft. Who cares what it looks like? Because too many people judge their writing. And at the end of the day, now, I don't know, I know you obviously wrote a book and you probably know a lot about this as well, but, there's a lot of things that we don't have to know, right? If you don't have the proper comma use, if you get it edited, someone's going to tell you that's wrong. So that should not stop you from writing a book.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said too, like there's so much time for editing in the future that if you over edit like at the beginning, you'll never write anything. You know what I mean? I almost did stream of consciousness for my book at the very beginning. Like it was such crap. Like there's no book there. You know what I mean? But like the ideas were imparted. And then from there you could work from that and shape it up and all that kind of stuff. So having published this book, I love how that intuition spoke to you. Do you have other books in mind or do you want to continue writing?
Yeah. So, I feel like sometimes, I'm sure the listeners can agree, sometimes I'm all over the place because there's so much I want to do. And so I always tell myself, I know they say life is short, but also if we try to speed up everything and try to get everything done, that's going to like zap our creativity and we're going to be frazzled. So, I've learned is just, if I get that intuitive hit, just kind of run with it. So I've started a nonfiction book, but then I went back to now I'm writing a kid's book again because I had this really great idea for the kid's book. My son, who gave me permission to write it, and I have started writing it. So all my books are really, how I look at things is I want something to be a teachable moment. And for kids, and it's something obviously you talk about in your cert, we learn a lot of our limiting beliefs when we're kids or we're younger. And I'm seeing that play out in my son. So we were going skating, and he had all these thoughts about how awful he was at skating. And I watched him through the process, and I, helped him, but he's really kind of figured it all out by himself that, okay, I just got to keep working at this. If I keep working at this, I can get better at this. And I just watched his confidence grow. And roller skating. Sorry, I didn't preface that, but yeah, so it's been just such a cool journey. And then I just had this idea, and this is where I think intuition is so cool, is that I just had the idea, I want to write a book about this. Like, Hudson learns the art of not giving up. And so I kind of switched gears, and I know that maybe sounds a little kind of frazzled, but it's what I feel called to do. So I've started that, and I'm going to probably go through the same process that I did before. But I also, I've also thought about doing query letters to get things out to traditional publishers. I've reached out to libraries for my book, my current book right now as well, just to get in as many hands as possible, and be something for kids, and hopefully it can touch them.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know that we have listeners right now who dream of writing a children's book. And I think you've just demystified it for them, Chrissy. Like, you think you've taken something that seems so nebulous and so, far off, and who am I to do that? And like, you've really given people permission to dream and to like allow themselves to say, why not me? And I think what's so cool too, is that there's so many ways that we can change the world, and that like having this insight that, okay, I've gone through these limiting beliefs or these personal development challenges for a reason. I've come to these insights, now as an adult, and to be able to have like the language and ability to kind of like codify that into a children's story, it's so special and it's so helpful. And I know me personally, like as an adult, when I do have kids, like that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be looking for, to read to them, versus just something more mindless, because like it's really important for me with that, deeper intent and the limiting beliefs and how we can empower people from the very get-go, and I'm sure a lot of children's books are actually empowering, but like, I just think it's so cool how you said the teachable lessons and those moments and stuff like that. So anyone listening who wants to write a children's book, like just start, like just get on it, go for it. Like you really could do it quicker than you ever thought. So you keep talking about intuition and now just like believing bigger and bigger and bigger, and really seeing how like alcohol was holding that place of smallness and such. How has that affected kind of like your spiritual sense of the world and, things like manifestation, or just, that message you got obviously came from something from somewhere, your intuition or your higher self. How is that like relationship with that? I don't know how to call it, that intuitive manifested world kind of playing out for you?
So I'm definitely listening. I'm listening more. And when we look at intuition, there's different ways we can get, intuitive hits, right? Some people get it, they hear something, they see something, they feel something, or they just have that inner knowing that, they need to do something. And so, I've now that I've had the intuitive hits to stop drinking alcohol, and I think that is our higher self or intuition. If you're getting called to, I need to stop drinking alcohol or it's not serving me, I think that by listening to that, by following that, and that's what my body wants, and I just realized how important intuition is. And, just some things that I've found that we really need to do is to listen. And we dismiss a lot of intuition. And so now I'm not dismissing that. And I also feel like I was meant not to drink for a reason. And I don't know. And sometimes I want to figure it all out right now too. But sometimes I don't know how my future is going to go. And I think spirituality is so beautiful because it teaches you that things might not happen right this second, but there's a reason why. Maybe it's not the time, maybe you're not ready. But if we don't listen to those intuitive hits, are we going to look back on our life and think that we've missed out? And I've also talked to a lot of women, and, it's something that I didn't even realize, like I said before, is that a lot of people want purpose. They want to feel like a connection that they're missing. And again, it might not be that they're miserable or unhappy, but there's just something that's driving them and they want to explore that. So really, I think listening to your intuition is the number one thing to do. And when we drink, I mean, that just dulls our intuition. It dulls manifestation. It dulls our vibes. It's, a cycle of being depressed, anxious, where it's so hard to manifest. And this is my biggest takeaway from learning about manifestation and intuition. I don't think people can't manifest, of course, when they're drinking. I would never say that. And I don't believe that. But for me, I don't think I was able to manifest big enough. I didn't think I could dream big enough. And that is the biggest takeaway for me, is that even when I'm down, I'm having a bad week, I have to center myself and go, okay, I need to remember why I'm doing this. And then also, if I do want to manifest something, I need to believe it. When you go alcohol free and you go through all these stages and you really find that you start to enjoy it, it gives you such more confidence to realize, what else can you do? What else is out there?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's such a beautiful way of seeing like the expanded self of, what's possible basically for you in your lifetime. And I think that every time we expand too, it's just this ripple effect for other people of giving other people permission to choose their desires or their dreams. So it's like in every single way we do this for ourselves, it's actually helping other people all around us without maybe even sometimes us knowing. So it's actually, I think, one of the most like selfless things we can do is to like focus on what our desires are and to dream big and to go for that. I'm so curious, do you have any rituals in place that help remind you to like think big or dream big? Is there anything you do on like a more daily or weekly basis, or any kind of practices you've kind of started that help kind of just guide you into those, better thinking thoughts?
Yes. Yeah. So one is that I really identified some of my limiting beliefs. So, you know, there was things in my life that I didn't do because I didn't think I was good enough at them. So one is I didn't major in being a dietitian, and one, I didn't try out for plays when I was younger, when I really wanted to, because I didn't think I was good enough. So just realizing some of the mind chatter. So some of the things that we think about that aren't helpful. So I'm more aware of that. But what I do in the mornings, I'm a morning person. And then even if you're not a morning person, you can do all these things in the evening. I do like meditation. I think it's really important, especially to connect to your intuition and to connect to your higher self. And there's so many different meditations you can do. So sometimes I do only a 5-minute meditation. Sometimes I do a longer meditation, depending on my mood in the day. I practice gratitude. I 100% believe the more we cultivate things into our life that we're grateful for, the more the universe will also give back. And honestly, even if people don't believe in manifestation, the principles behind manifestation are just really to be in a different level and to be happy and to be grateful for what we have. And so I really practice that, because it's so easy to look at what we don't have. And it's nothing is wrong with anybody for doing that. It's just sometimes how our brain is. So I really like to look at gratitude. So I say what I'm grateful for. And I also say what I'm grateful for that I want to have happen, and feel how that's going to feel. So sometimes I think about being a New York Times bestseller. Sometimes I think about signing book contracts. But I've had some really neat things also happen with meditations. Is I've seen myself going on stage and signing books. So I think that meditations are so wonderful to calm you. And also, just when we meditate, it's also such a good ritual to slow down. A lot of us are really fast paced and we're just busy and we're thinking about the next thing. But if we don't connect to our bodies, it is sometimes harder when we're going alcohol free, if we're not really paying attention. Or to connect with the intuition, it's easier to sit down and meditate. I have over there, I have a candle I use. I have a waterfall. I love the sound of water. I'm obsessed with the sound of water. So just getting things that really make you feel excited to do things in the morning is important. I move my body as well. I find that, exercising and working out has just helped me with sobriety and also just feeling good.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. You know how they sometimes have those magazines of like, here's a celebrity, look at like what's inside their like purse or something. That's how I feel about asking this kind of question. I just like want to write everything down and be like, all right, am I doing that? Am I doing that? Because it's just such helpful tools. And obviously those are some practices that I love as well. And I think that's so cool when we are able to connect with our higher self who sees that bigger vision for ourselves, like the stages, the books, all of it. And I remember when I first started seeing those kinds of things, like there was a part of me that thought I was delusional, like none of this
Yes.
is going to happen. And it was like really surrounding myself with other growth oriented women and mentors and coaches that I was like, why not? Like I actually, once you start knowing and hearing about people doing this kind of stuff, it's like, well, why not me? Like I have this fire inside me. I have a passion. I have these dreams. I have people I'm meant to help, and it just makes it seem like, nope, it's not delusional. It's actually my destiny.
Oh, I love that. And I 100% agree. It's easy to forget how far we've come, and it's easy to dismiss our biggest dreams. But then when we surround ourselves with other people that are doing it, and I don't even know how I would live now without some type of self-development. I practice that as well, but it's so true though, when we surround ourselves with other people. And that's a reminder for me. I actually listened to this really good talk about other women in business and jealousy. And when we get jealous of other people, that's just telling ourselves we can have that. That's what we can have.
Yeah. It's like the jealousy is stemming from this idea that we can't have it or that she already took it. And it's like, no, right? We can have it. I love that. Chrissy, so one more question, like as a coach, who would you love to work with? Who's the, exact type of person that you'd love to help, and help them with what?
Oh, so I kind of will go in like three areas, and they're kind of sometimes married together. So definitely people that are trying to change their relationship with alcohol. I think it can be so hard to do by yourself. I did end up deciding to stop, but I think it was just really reinforced with your program and just everything I'm doing. So I just really feel like having someone to help you with all those things that I needed help with, like the romanticizing alcohol. So someone that wants to, that really has thought, I want to change my relationship with alcohol, but now how do I do that? And then, people that want to work on their mindset. When I was talking about limiting beliefs, it's been something that I've been working really hard on, and I really, really love talking about it and helping people. I actually made a limiting beliefs worksheet as well. And then definitely the intuition piece, the manifestation piece. And I do feel like as my coaching goes along, this is going to probably be more and more just part of it, because I feel like it's just been such a huge part for me that's helped guide me along the way. So, a lot of people want to talk about purpose, want to talk about growth. And those are some of the things that I love to talk about and help people with.
Oh, amazing. Well, where can people find more information about working with you, your limiting belief exercise, all the good stuff?
Well, that's on my website. And it's Chrissy Janiga. It's at Chrissy Janiga or all my social media sites. And so you can definitely find me there.
Awesome. Well, we'll be sure to include all those links in the show notes so you can find Chrissy, find her limiting belief exercise, and work with her. And I just want to thank you so much for being on this show. It's always such a delight to, hear the incredible journey you've been on. We, in the Empowered AF Coach Certification Program, have this Slack channel, and Chrissy's, inputs and insights are always so brilliant, and seeing her on calls is always so great as well. So thank you so much for sharing more of your story and just the why and the how and the beautiful, touch and spirit of that intuition that was guiding you to play a bigger game without alcohol. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.